Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we go over all things anxiety. I am Steven, and you may notice I am in a new area that's a bit blank. I want to apologize for that. The new studio is being set up right now, and it's going to be fantastic when it's complete. But today's topic is, can ear piercing actually help anxiety and reduce it? Let's take a look and get into it, shall we? Ear piercing is a way of hitting certain pressure points, just like we have through our whole body. They've been studied for thousands of years. There are some in your toes that can help relieve headaches, and a number of other pretty amazing things that we can accomplish by just being able to apply pressure in certain parts of our body. So that is the topic that we'll be getting into to be able to explain how ear piercing may resolve some anxiety. The main pressure point that we'll be discussing is actually the daith or doth piercing, depending on who's pronouncing it. But where it is, it's actually in the inner ear. It's this little curve of cartilage right here, kind of feels like it's a fold. And the piercing goes straight through that right there, and usually is a hoop that's put in, and there is some different information that it can, in fact, reduce some anxiety symptoms. A lot of people swear by it, but let's look at the science and see if there is something behind it, or if it may just be a placebo effect. So when we look into pressure points to understand how this ear piercing can help anxiety, we find that there is actually hundreds of pressure points in the body located around joint areas and different nerve areas, and when massaged or pressure is applied to them, it can increase pain relief, better circulation, it can help relieve tension around muscle clusters, and it can also increase energy. So there are some benefits to this. It's pretty impressive, and the Chinese have actually been studying this and researching different ways to relieve them for thousands of years. The ears are quite intriguing in all of this because there are quite a few pressure points in them, including the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the longest of the 10 nerves that actually go through the entire body. So when we manipulate different areas of the ear, we can actually affect multiple regions of our body itself. Stimulating the vagus nerve has actually led to some pretty awesome results. It can actually help people with epilepsy and depression. It can help recovery time after a seizure. It can also help with heart rate, blood pressure, sweating, speaking, and digestion. Pretty impressive. Many people claim that it can help when piercing the vagus pressure point right there in the ear, the daith piercing or doth piercing, that it can relieve headaches, migraines, and depression and anxiety, just because it is a constant stimulation of that nerve, which is pretty amazing. And there is a lot of results of people who have had this piercing who claim that it has relieved these symptoms. To understand piercings better, we need to look at acupuncture. Now, acupuncture, that is the process of putting small needles into the skin to relieve different pressure points and nerves. Of course, traditional Chinese medicine has been using this for a very, very long time. But here in the West, some may view it as a bit silly because it's not based on a scientific method. However, when we look at the data, there is a tremendous amount of information that has been beneficial. Acupuncture can aid a whole range of things, including pain relief, weight loss, better sleep, better handling of depression and anxiety, and so much more. Scientists state that if the daith piercing does relieve these symptoms, it is because of its similarity to acupuncture. After all, it is basically a constant state of acupuncture in that part of the ear, which is relieving the symptoms. It is in fact proven that acupuncture can relieve these symptoms in the ear, so if the piercing is done correctly and in the correct spot on the pressure point, it only makes sense that it can help with depression and anxiety and even headaches. However, if it's not done correctly and it's not through the pressure point, then it's just a cool looking ear piercing. So how does anxiety relate to migraines and headaches? Well, they go hand in hand. It is actually very common to have daily or chronic headaches for people who are experiencing a chronic state of anxiety or depression. They are two peas in a pod, and two peas that we don't really like to deal with. So if an ear piercing can make that better, I am all in. It's also a vicious cycle because, of course, migraines can induce anxiety because you have serotonin and different neurotransmitter levels being pushed around in your brain, which can lead to a heightened heart rate, a higher blood pressure, and a state of anxiety and depression. So they're two devils and they work in tandem together. When serotonin is dumped in the brain, it has to move between cells. When these cells are communicating and rapidly being fired, they get out of whack, and this imbalance is what leads to a migraine. Emotional stress can also lead to headaches and migraines because the imbalance and the kind of your body just getting out of whack is what will lead to that state of pain in the head. Anxiety migraines can be excruciating. They can last from hours to days. They can be so debilitating that someone may not be able to leave their room, they may not be able to eat a meal. It is a constant state of pain that really no one wants to experience. If you've never had them, you are beyond lucky. So let's look at the piercing now. A lot of people, of course, the first question is going to be, does it hurt? Well, that's subjective. Of course, people have different pain tolerances and levels to pain, and some people say it doesn't hurt at all, and some people say it hurt a lot. But the kind of common ground is, yes, it hurts, but it's not the worst thing that's ever happened. Because the depth piercing is located in a pretty thick area of cartilage, it is one of the harder places to pierce for its location, and it is one of the longest when it comes to recovery time. So take that into mind. It's going to take a while. And during that process, of course, you need to take care of it. You need to keep it clean and follow the instructions that your piercer gives you, because you do run the risk of it getting infected if not properly cared for during this healing time. Compared to a normal piercing in the lobe, the depth piercing seems to be a little bit more painful than that. However, reports and people say that it does not hurt as much as getting an industrial or a top cartilage piercing like this one here. It's a little in the middle. There's not a whole bunch of nerves in that cartilage, and so therefore it's not excruciating, but again, expect a little pain. During the recovery process, you're going to want to absolutely avoid getting it snagged on clothing, hats, bedding. You need to be aware of it. Also, washing it too much. A lot of people think that they could just keep washing it and washing it and washing it, and that's the best way to treat a new piercing, but that's not necessarily true. Whenever you wash it, you also are hindering the body and removing the plasma that's trying to heal it. So do follow the instructions according to your piercer and make sure that you are taking proper care of it. If you do this, it is going to be a lengthy recovery, but it's absolutely manageable, and just be aware of it. You'll be fine. Promise. So now the ultimate question, does it actually work to relieve these symptoms? And yes and no. There are so many testimonials and so many people who have received that piercing who claim that it has relieved their symptoms and it has helped them tremendously, or even a little bit more than they were before the piercing. However, there is not a huge amount of research or documented data to really back it up in a scientific type manner. So go with the testimonials or go with the science. It's really up to you to decide, but it is a possibility. And if you are having extreme migraines or depression and anxiety, hey, maybe it's worth a shot. And again, maybe it's a placebo. A placebo effect is something that's given to a person where they believe it works and therefore it does. Our minds are incredible. Our bodies are incredible, and the connection between the two is absolutely astonishing, and we don't even know the half of it yet. We're barely scratching the surface. So if you believe that piercing is going to work and you get it, even if scientifically it doesn't work, your belief in it may actually give you a positive result. It's hard to know because, again, there's not a tremendous amount of research on the placebo effect in this piercing. However, we know it exists and we know that it is powerful. The mind over matter and the mind over body. It is a really fantastic thing. I wish I could give you a more definitive answer, but of course, topics like this are difficult to do so because all of the things I've stated before. However, give it a shot if you want to give it a shot. If you're terrified of piercings, don't give it a shot, but maybe it'll work. Maybe it's scientific, maybe it's a placebo, but at the end, who really cares as long as it's relieving your symptoms, right? I wish I could give you a more definitive answer on if it actually works or it doesn't, but like I said before, it's really hard to do. All I can do is give you the data, the research, and the testimonials. If you like piercings, hey, it's cool looking, get it. And if you have anxiety, depression, or horrible migraines, it's worth a shot. I mean, if it's gonna relieve your symptoms, why not, right? And really, truthfully, if it actually scientifically works or it's a placebo, what difference does it make as long as you get relief? The last tip of advice I want to give you is make sure that you are going to a prominent piercer in a sterile parlor who has experience with this piercing. Again, if it's pierced in the wrong place and not on the pressure point, it's not going to be beneficial at all. And make sure that you are taking care of it and using the correct products to keep it clean when you need to be cleaning it according to the instructions that you were given. And everything's gonna be fine. I wish you the best if you decide to get this piercing. I truly hope it helps your symptoms and I hope you get relief from it. And I want to thank you so much for tuning in to the channel today, watching this video on this fascinating topic. And please, if you like our content, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you know when we post new videos. And you can always read this blog in its entirety over on the Zan Free website. Thanks guys, and I hope you have a great stress-free day.